So as I mentioned in my last video, the Hume and Hovell Expedition arrived at the banks of the Murray River on the 16th of November 1824. On that day, Hovell wrote in his journal, "At half an hour after sunrise we were away, and at the end of 3.5 miles, 7 o'clock, we suddenly arrived at the bank of a fifth and very fine river, at least 200 feet wide, apparently deep, with the bank about 8 or 9 feet above the level which is overflowed at the time of a flood, and the stream running about 3 knots per hour. On both sides the land is low and level, and consists of a fine alluvial soil, with grass up to our middle. This I named Hume's River, he being the first that saw it." Then they travelled along the river following its course to look for a crossing place. They found themselves in lagoons and swamps, and then had to move back to high land. Hovell writes, "We had therefore to keep back to high land, and came to at the foot of a hill alongside the river. He and Hume went to the top of that hill to see if they could then see a crossing place further in the distance. He mentions that the bellbirds are frequent, as are the flax plants, and the ducks are numerous, and they caught a fish, the same as what they caught in the Lachlan River, and another fish species that Hume informed Hovell are not like any that they've seen in the colony before, so perhaps that could have been a Murray cod? I don't know." And then at the bottom of this page in his journal, Hovell draws a line as if to mark the beginning of a new day, and writes, "In the solid wood of a healthy tree I cut my name, Hovell, November 1724. Then over the page he starts writing from the 17th of November. So I imagine he drew that line to indicate it was the beginning of a new day, and that he inscribed his name in the tree on the morning of the 17th, or at some stage on the 17th. But here we have a mystery, because historians believe that the hill that's described that they reached on the 16th and camped at the base of is now known as Dights Hill. And the tree which we now know as the Hovell Tree, where Hovell inscribed his name, is back in Albury, not near Dights Hill. From my understanding, Hovell's journal wasn't available to the public for a long time and wasn't directly sourced when this conclusion was reached. But Bland's book, this one, was sourced, and the directions and distances and description of the landscape that's in Bland's book is predominantly from Hovell's journal. So I don't know why it doesn't correlate that Dights Hill is not near the Hovell Tree, and that the date doesn't add up. But I'll leave that as a mystery. One member of the Albury and District Historical Society, who you've already met in the tabletop video, was kind enough to take me to Dights Hill to give us a little bit more information about those first few days when the expeditioners were on the banks of the Murray River looking for a crossing place. Let's hear from Peter Harper. I'm here with Peter Harper. Peter developed the Explorers Bikeride, which follows all the monuments of the Hume and Hovell track through Victoria.
Yes, Karen, I started this a while ago, and I hope that it sort of follows on from the Hume and Hovell walk through New South Wales. You'll be able to do then the Hume and Hovell bike ride, which I call the Explorers Bikeride, through Victoria to follow all the monuments through to Werribee, the termination point down on Port Phillip. And we're standing here below Dights Hill, which is behind the camera, and in front of us, in front of the camera behind me, is one of the lagoons. And Hume and Hovell trekked on the November the 16th. They trekked from Albury, where they first met the river, and they named it the Hume, and they trekked westward about 7 miles. So we're standing at a point about 7 miles west of Albury, downriver. And they came down here to try and find a crossing point. And they camped here on the night of the 16th.
Yep. So in this general vicinity?
In this area, and you can see behind us of all the lagoons that they had to wade through, and the lush grass that's here on the riverbank. They saw lots of evidence of Aboriginal occupancy. There were fires, and there was, Hovell describes the fish traps on this journey of the November 16. And he goes into a lot of detail as to how they
trap the fish.
Yeah,
really clever ways.
It was.
Yeah.
So on the next day, the 17th, from their campsite, they climbed Dights Hill and had a good view downriver. And what you do see from the top is the river plain that just stretches out flat, the tree of the river valley, just going all the way flat down through to Adelaide. And so they travelled down there about 7 miles on the 17th, couldn't find a crossing point and came back to this campsite for the 17th.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah.
And
so
this is
camped around here on the 16th and the 17th.
Yes, both
And
the
then
same
headed
spot.
back again.
Because only Hume and Hovell and 2 of the men went down.
Right.
The rest stayed here and rested and caught fish.
Okay, and probably the bullocks might have needed a rest
Yes,
as well.
they were mindful of the bullocks needing water and food all the way along.
Yeah. And so we can't go over Dights Hill because that's in private land.
And it's a big hill. I don't want to walk up it.
And there's probably about 300 snakes between us.